Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts. Wherever you get this thing here for free, go ahead and give us a 5-star review. Give us a good review because after all, you do, in fact, get this for free. We are going to talk about the NBA Finals. We are going to talk about Andre 3000. We're going to talk about people talking crazy to me. But first... All right, ladies and gentlemen, apparently this is the day that many of you have been waiting for. The day that now you can gamble legally. Well, okay, you can't gamble legally yet, but your local states are now allowed, per the Supreme Court, to legalize gambling. The state of New Jersey, they pulled this off. Chris Christie, the governor, have been talking about this for the longest time and making it, some people just need a win, right? So anyway, good for you, buddy. Got you a dub, make that happen. So now New Jersey is in the sports gambling business. People have talked about New Jersey might get their situation up and running in time for the NBA Finals. They're like, no, let's get this money. Let's get this money going right now.
I saw a picture on Twitter of a bunch of machines that had been delivered to the Monmouth Casino, Monmouth Park or something like that. And so they just hadn't been turned on. So it's like, all right, we in business now.
Hit the switch. Pow, right? Like a switch on the wall. It goes, pow. Everything's in business. Neon lights all over the place. Gambling is here. So many of you are so excited about the gambling being here, and I don't blame you for this. Apparently what you guys have been doing, and I'm being sincere about this because I don't gamble. I got no judgment on you on this fact. I don't have a personality that is conducive to gambling. I'm just a little bit too impressed with my own intelligence, which will then lead me to believe that I can break the game, and that whole business is built off people thinking that they can break the game, right?
So are we going to have a movie in a couple of years where it's like Bomani descends upon Las Vegas?
Yeah, I got to have it.
He and Pablo are going to beat the game.
Yes, we are, right? And see, he's the type, because he probably went to Harvard with somebody that was counting cards and stuff like that, that's got a strategy. I did not, right? I just know I can't get down in this way because it will ultimately prove to be problematic for me. But you guys, you go on the websites, so you go bet somewhere, offshore somewhere, and then they send you a check. After a point, if you win, you get your money in that way. That's the game that people are playing. Now, if your state is down for it, you won't have to do that. Now, let's be clear. A lot of your states are not going to be down for this. I would be curious to see an overlay of the United States, and we highlight the states that have legalized cannabis in some sort of way, and then put on top of that, in 5 years or however long it takes, the states that are going to legalize gambling. I think you're going to see a remarkable level of consistency between those two, which is to say, if you don't think your state is going to legalize cannabis anytime soon, your state is probably not going to legalize sports gambling. So Mississippi, Alabama, those states have had some ways that they've allowed some level of gambling in. Do you think they're going to allow you to go full on sports gambling with this? Like the state of Texas, for example, there's been no interest in getting it going over there. So I could be wrong on the overlay. I'm just saying not everybody's going to do this. There are going to be some states that are not. Now, states that need some money, because a lot of these state budget governments just need some money. If you have ever had tax problems with any of our 50 American states, you know they need their money right now, right? They're going to get in on this. That's the same thing that's happened with cannabis, is at some point a whole lot of these states just going to be like, we can't just keep walking away from money. They're not going to do that. So it'll probably come to your state. Might not come to your state, but it'll probably come to your state. Two things that are going to be interesting about this to me. Number one, these sports leagues have been ready for this day. Now, the NFL can say as much as they fought and they say they're behind the curve or whatever, they're going to get up to speed fast. The NBA, Adam Silver just been sitting here rubbing his hands together like, okay, let's go. Let's see how this runs. And they're going to jump all over it. Because for them, they're fighting the idea that the regular season isn't important, right? Everybody on this whole thing, the regular season doesn't count. Who cares about the regular season? Why should I care about the regular season? You might have the Warriors on the money line. All of a sudden, the regular season seems to matter a whole lot more to people, right? They're going to jump on this. The NFL, I think part of why the NFL can be as reluctant on jumping on it is A, it doesn't matter. People are gambling on it anyway. And B, they don't have a problem with people feeling like their games are important. I don't know how much legalized gambling is going to affect NFL interest as much as I think it might in these other sports. That's number one. Number two, I hope you know the media landscape is going to change completely because we don't have to pretend anymore. So what do I mean by pretend? I used to work for a station in Canada called The Score. They had a cable television network, and they had a Sirius radio station. I remember I went up there to interview with them, and the one thing they explained to me was they were just like, okay, we don't pretend about gambling, right? On the ticker on their television station, yeah, you get the time of the game. They're giving you the spread. They're giving you the number right there on the screen. There was no nonsense about it. The station on Sirius was largely guys talking about gambling, having cappers on. My man Cam Stewart, who used to come on during the NFL season when the show was on the radio, he worked there. And you have to understand, Cam was not like the dude who worked there who talked about gambling. Cam was the dude there who talked about gambling with a bunch of other people there who also talked about gambling. Like that's what they did. And I started working there. I was like, oh, okay. And once I was there, I just realized how many of y'all gamble. Like I promise you, I just didn't have an idea of how many of you do that and how much of your sports consumption is about gambling. Like Gabe, like our fantasy football stuff at ESPN. Now that's not gambling, but it's still a very similar notion. It does numbers. It does huge numbers. I was at a thing yesterday listening to Matthew Berry talk about the fantasy football focus and all the people that are around it and how long it's been on and how dedicated they are. People are coming for advice on trying to win in these leagues where y'all are probably betting money. You think the content is not going to reflect that? You think that when you turn on a sports station, any sports station, don't want to talk out of turn about the people I work for, you think you think they're not about to give you what you need for this gambling? Like you think television shows that come on at like 6 o'clock Eastern right before those games are not going to be looking out for you and your gambling? You know how free Scott is going to be now? To be who Scott wants to be? I mean, Scott's pretty much being who Scott wants to be. But you realize how free Scott is now to be who Scott wants to be because we don't have to pretend anymore. We don't have to front on it. That's where we are on this gambling. Now, the question is this going to affect like integrity? Because that's always their concern, is that once this happens, are the games going to be compromised? Don't think so. At least not in the pros, right? Because reason number one is if somebody want to get in and fix a game, they can already do that. Right? Like there's nothing stopping anybody from doing that right now. If they want to get in and fix a game, they can go ahead and figure that out. College is where this is going to be tricky though, because you don't pay them. You don't pay them. Bottom line is for dudes that make pro money, like real pro money, is not worth the risk of throwing everything away and getting sent to jail out here behind the money that you're going to get being involved in some gambling scam. But if you are dead damn broke, your pocket's looking like elephant ears when you walk around here, you got a little different of an incentive structure to maybe shave a point here and there. And making it easier to gamble in that way, I'm not even so concerned about like somebody coming down from like, some coming down on high and be coming to like, either you going to win this game for us or we going to break your legs or something like that. No. I'm saying if these jokers can just go place the bets themselves. Broke people do desperate things, and college athletes are broke people. I saw Ravel was on Twitter and was like, maybe this is the way for college athletes to get their fair share. No. They're dedicated to not giving them their fair share. And you're going to find out how dedicated they are to not giving them their fair share, because functionally speaking, this necessitates that you give these dudes some bread. You pay them or somebody else does. And like, you're not worried about boosters paying them. That's not really that big a deal. That's not affecting the games themselves, right? You pay them or somebody else does. That's the functional understanding that I feel like that you have to have in this circumstance. You pay them or somebody else does. And they're just not going to pay them because they don't pay them. As a rule, as a law, they're not going to wind up paying them. That's it. So I like this though. This is going to be something else. Now, Gabe, let me ask you this. Do you think that legalized sports gambling is going to increase the number of people who gamble?
I don't think so. I think all of the people who really want to gamble are already doing it in one way or another because of all the different apps that people can have, the DraftKings, all that sort of stuff, where you can kind of legally do it. But I feel like maybe it may change a little bit, but I don't feel like there's going to be like a sweeping like, oh yeah, it's legal now. Yeah.
But here's what I think about that, because I think you're largely correct, right? Like, it's not going to just completely flip the game up, but I feel like now it's almost like the people who are gambling now are kind of analogous to like early adopters. Because like, I honestly would not know where to go. If I wanted to go bet on a football game, like I'm sure I could Google it or whatever, but I would not know where to go. I'm just not around people who like get down with it in that way. I would not know where. But I've used the cannabis thing as a comparison because I think cannabis is another situation where I was like, okay, you legalize smoking weed. who's not smoking weed because it's illegal? Like if they decide they want to smoke weed, they're going to smoke weed. And the answer that we found in some of these states was more people than you would think. So like in Colorado, I remember the Denver Post used to have a section. It was fascinating. Like I was fascinated by the idea of this burgeoning industry. Like what happens when a black market goes legal? And they had it was called the Cannabis. I don't know if they still do it, but they had a whole cannabis section basically. They talked a lot about the businesses and the things that people were doing around it. I remember one thing that jumped out to me was the Symphony had like reefer night. Yeah. The Symphony. They had a night where you come and like smoke this weed. And so here's what I was thinking. If you're just operating, like on, I don't know, stereotype is the right word, but working on assumptions, the symphony crowd, you're not thinking that the symphony crowd is the crowd with a bunch of people smoking weed. But the listening to music crowd, that is a crowd that you would think of as a bunch of people smoking weed. It just so happens that the symphony crowd and the music crowd are the same people, but they see themselves as a symphony crowd, not as a music crowd. So now the symphony has reefer night. Okay, you come to the symphony, you're like, no, I don't. Well, okay, right? Because now there's somebody who can finally share how they were living, and they're there at symphony night, walking around, and somebody's like, wow, is that a cigar? Nah, not really. I rolled this myself, about big as a fist, right? And they're in there, you want to do this? Well, I mean, are you sure? No, really, it's not that big a deal. Are you? Okay, I guess I will. The next thing you know, they sitting in the third row like, dog, is that the oboe? It sounds like the greatest oboe I've ever heard in my life. Oh my God, I feel the bass in my chest. I never knew it was like this.
It removes the stigma.
Yeah.
It removes the stigma completely. So to your point, I mean, all of the people are, can comfortably come out of the shadows and not feel like they're slanted for going to Poly around the way to, put 20 on the calves.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So like the way these same people, they go to the symphony for this time and then it's great. Oh, really? And then next thing you know, they're like, hey, I drive past this store all the time on my way home. Maybe I can go in there and pick something up. Yeah. Next thing you know, they in there talking to lingo.
Oh, yeah, completely. I mean, in Europe, you have little sports betting like kiosks and stuff, in the bodega on the corner.
Right.
So it's like, oh, I'm going to go pick up the morning paper, get some coffee, and put 20 on the Chargers today.
Yeah, but that's what I think is going to happen, is that there will be more. It's not going to be like this overwhelming increase, but there will be people who now are going to be like, yeah, I'm going to go watch the game with my buddy. Okay, well, let's go to the bar. Okay, right? And then you go to the bar with your buddy, and he's about to bet on the game. He's like, you want to bet on it? Nah, that's not really my thing. Well, you know what? All right, I'll go put 20 on the game. And then next thing you know, that person is sitting at the table. Defense! Come on, fellas, 8.5. Defense! And now that person is that guy. So yeah, I do think that there will be an increase in that way. Like I say, the Colorado stuff was fascinating to see those people who weren't necessarily down with the program. And then they got a little taste of the program. And then they're looking around like, wow, I had no idea that this is what life could be. That's going to happen with some of these people when it comes to the gambling stuff. So yeah, it's going to be more people because it's just going to be in front of them more. It's just going to be like, I talked to Vince Staples once, and he was talking about gangbanging, right? And his thing about gangbanging was, where, people are like, oh my gosh, you joined a gang, right? It's such a big deal. He's like, nah, man. He's like, here's the thing about the gang. He said, the gang is like a store on the corner. You walk past that store every day. Maybe you walk in one day, maybe you don't, but ain't nothing making you walk in. You can make the decision that you're going to walk into that store. And then once you walk in that store, like that store becomes the one you go to, well, okay, that is what you do. That's what's happening with gambling now. It's going to be the store, and you walk past it every day. And then maybe one day you decide to walk in, right? More people are now going to walk in. More people are now going to kind of sort of be into it. And by the way, shout out to all you bookies. This business is a little bit different. It won't be all of you, right? It won't be everybody. Like, it's not going to put the bookie out of business, just like the weed man is not out of business. But it will be fewer bookies. There will be less demand for the bookies just because they make life easier. Also, I'm just curious, is the bookie anything like other people where you try to get in touch with your bookie and he's like, yo, man, I'm going to hit you when I get off work. And then he gets off work. Okay, yo, man, I got to go pick up my son from daycare and then take it to my baby mama house. And then after that, I'm coming right to you. That's not how the bookie world works.
Is it like that Atlanta episode, Paper Boys at the barbershop?
Yeah.
He's trying to get his cut.
Yeah, sort of.
And it takes the entire day to do it.
It's very,
all right, I've got to go take care of this. I got to go take care of that. You want something to eat now?
Yeah, it's very similar. He said he'd go call me when he get off work. He been off work for 4 hours. I don't know what I was just talking about right there. Anyway, conference finals. Warriors smoked the Rockets. It didn't feel like they were going to smoke them in the first half, and then the second half came around and a smoking had transpired. It was a smoking. The Cavs got smoked by the Celtics. Cavs getting smoked by the Celtics I think was less surprising though. Even in spite of all the rest and everything else, it was like a classic LeBron kind of fill it out, see where it goes sort of game. But Warriors Rockets, you can't be encouraged if you're a Rockets fan. Can you? You can't. And the reason I say you can't be encouraged if you're a Rockets fan is the Rockets didn't shoot badly in that game. They didn't shoot badly from three. They didn't shoot badly overall. They weren't great from the free throw line, but they weren't bad. But I want you to think about this and how disheartening this has to be for the Rockets. We had a game here where Chris Paul had 23 points, 11 rebounds. James Harden put up 41 and had 7 assists. In this same game, Steph Curry only went for 18. They lost by 13 points. Now, you would think if you had that combination of factors, that everything would be good, that this would be a game that you were able to win. The Rockets, however, a lot was made about how, strategically it had been so interesting what they'd done because they'd gone back to basically old school isolation basketball. The NBA went out of its way to try to wipe off the earth. Just walking down the court, isolating and seeing if people can get their matchups. I mean, that's what the Rockets are out here doing because they've got James Harden and nobody can guard him. That they're just like, pass the ball to him or pass the ball to Chris Paul, let them break people down and then go from there. The problem with running that though in the postseason, you could do that in the old NBA because the old NBA required legally basically that you stand next to your man. The space was far more open on the floor for you to get through there. Now you can shade off your man in a completely different way than you could before. You can play zone defense. You just can't park in the lane for all that time. But there's a bunch of stuff that you could do that you can't do before that is part of why you don't see isolation basketball like you did before. The rules are there to dissuade it. Every shot the Rockets took looked so difficult. Like nothing seemed like an easy shot. And Weber was pointing out a lot in that game. It's just like, another possession where nobody cut. Another possession where nobody cut. Where they're just standing there. I saw one play where Chris Paul had taken it to the basket, gotten by his guy, and threw the ball out to the corner, and I think he threw it to P.J. Tucker. Gerald Green was standing right next to him. Neither one of them could figure out who the ball was coming to because they were standing right next to each other because all they're trying to do is isolate.
Hold up. You noticed the play where Chris Paul beat his man off the dribble? I didn't see it.
I mean, it didn't happen all the time, but yeah, he got down with. I mean, all they can try to do is, all the Rockets can really try to do is get out here and try to get you in a switch and then exploit the matchup. But how are you getting anybody in a switch if nobody's moving? Like maybe you got this occasional pick, but how are you doing this if nobody is moving? And that's the whole thing. James Harden, as good as he was, I can't imagine how exhausted he was at the end of that game because all those baskets looked so difficult. Every single one of them looked so difficult. And with the Warriors, I mean, other than Kevin Durant just going bananas on them, he's just like, I just came to score. No, I don't really want no assists. I don't need no rebounds. I just came here to score. And score he did. It was an easy 37. It was an easy 37. Klay Thompson put up an easy 28. Like, look at how easy the shots are that they get. I saw Klay Thompson's on the post game. He's talking about the reason Kevin Durant came here is look how easy these shots are. Look how good the looks are that you get. The Rockets aren't getting any good looks. And also with the Rockets, this isn't what Mike D'Antoni does. Like a slow, grinded out, just help you get a shot. That's not why we know that dude's name. So my question is, what adjustment are you going to make? Like if this is what you've been doing all year, they ground the pace down. By the end of the year, they were last in the league in pace. I don't know if they were in total, but like in that last stretch of the year, they were absolutely last in the year in pace. What are they going to change? If you've decided what's best for us is just to roll the ball out there, what is it that you're going to change? I don't have an answer for that. Does anybody have an answer for that? I don't see it. Good luck to them on that. But I don't think they're out of it, right? Like, to be fair to the Rockets, if they win game 2, we're having a different discussion. We're going into game 3. And to me, it's not over unless they're down 3-0 in game 3.
It's not that they lost. It's how they looked when they lost, right? That just gives you pause on the whole rest of the series. I mean, people were so hyped about this series the whole season. And then last night I was watching, I was just like, man, I was expecting something a little different from the Rockets.
The first half was great, though. Can we say that?
Well, dirty Chris Paul making his appearance was great.
Now, Gabe, are you a Warriors fan? I know you're from up that way.
I'm not. I'm a Laker fan.
You're a Laker fan? Oh, wow. We have fun picking on you at a later point.
Yeah, so I would say maybe I'm a little shady with my fandom when it comes to NBA. I'm more of like a fan of the league as opposed to being attached to like one team or of another. But with like other sports, I have more of like a team. I was like a little bit of a Warriors fan growing up. All my friends were Warriors fans. So then when I kind of switched allegiances a little bit, I never heard of the end of it.
Are you a Kobe stan?
I back Kobe. I'm not gonna. He's not the hill I'm willing to die on.
Okay, that's all I need. I need you not to back Kobe is good enough. I respect Kobe in many ways. I just need to make sure whether you were one of them. Yeah, just one of them. Oh, dirty Chris Paul. That's where we were going.
That's the most entertaining part of the first half, is it not?
That's why I was asking if you were a Warriors fan, because Dirty Chris Paul is something that the Warriors fans come up quickly. And again, he's been Dirty Chris Paul for a very long time. He punched my man Hodge in the testicles in 2005 in a game at the RBC Center. I'll always remember that one. He just does all kinds of stuff, tries to stick his hip into you. Yesterday, right, I can't tell. We were going through this game. We couldn't decide. Was he trying to elbow Kevin Durant in the booty, or was he trying to elbow Kevin Durant in the testicles, and then decided, you know what, I'm going to do both? Yeah,
I mean, it seemed like he was just kind of elbowing in KD's general direction, and wherever, let the chips fall where they may, right?
Yes, like whatever where it's an elbow no matter where it goes, right?
If it hits him in the face, oh well.
Chris Paul does like so many good things in the real world. He's so hard to like, man. He's so hard to like. He wants to, and it's also funny because he does all the dirty things, and it had never gotten into the conference finals until right now. And it might get them wiped out. Like I don't think they're going to get swept. I thought they were going to win the West coming into the playoffs. I'll be real about it. I thought they were. I just think there's a certain level of attrition that happens with a team that goes as deep in the playoffs as much as the Warriors had, and they showed some signs of that attrition during the season. That was my thinking. That was where I was. I may have been incorrect.
You can be forgiven. I think a lot of people last night across the country were hoping for the Rockets to come out and blow the doors off of Golden State, just so they could be like, see?
But to be fair, for whatever it's worth, it was a great first half. Right? Like, they were in it in the first half, but the problem was it was a great first half for the Rockets. It was a mediocre first half for the Warriors, and they were tied.
And then they had a slightly better second half, and KD had a really nice third quarter, and that was it.
Yes. Wow. Dude, I don't dislike the Warriors, but I don't like the Warriors. I don't really like what they're doing to basketball.
You don't like what they're doing to basketball?
I'd rather watch people dunk than watch people shoot threes.
Was that just because they don't have a lot of guys on their team that dunk like that? Yeah, if you think about it, like, yeah, Draymond gets a little nasty, and so does KD, but like Curry's not a dunker. Yeah. Klay Thompson's not really a dunker.
But what it is what they've done is they've exploited the math, right? They have these great shooters, and the biggest problem, a 3-point shot is worth too much. A 3-point shot is worth 50% more than a 2-point shot. If that's going to be the case, the 3-point line should be farther out. But they can't move the 3-point line farther out because they will not widen the floor, right? Like, just speaking purely mathematically, I don't like what the 3-point shot does. It incentivizes dudes to just spread it out and stand out there and shoot threes. I don't blame them. They're playing the game as the game is to be played. I'd rather watch people run the lanes and dunk on each other. Like, that's what I enjoy. The Warriors are that high school team from the burbs, right? Like, they're the burb squad, right? And what do? They just stand around and shoot a bunch of threes, and you look up and you're like, wait, how are we down 15? Because you've been trading twos for threes. But I like twos. I feel like the 2-pointers become underrated in time. That's not to say they're not good. I love the way they look on defense, and it's a beautiful style of basketball. I'm not saying that there's not a value to it. It's just taking basketball in a direction that I don't want basketball to go to. Like, the idea that people are sitting around and trying to explain to me that it's cooler to shoot threes than to dunk a basketball. And the only thing I can assume about anybody who says that is, not only have they never dunked a basketball, they gave up on that premise early on in their lives, and therefore they need to jump on something that they feel like they can personally relate to. I dunked a basketball for the first time when I was 15 15 years old before I hit 6 feet tall. And I'm telling you, it's the greatest feeling in the world. Like if you've never had your hand on the rim and watched the ball go through the net and had people woo because they didn't think that you could do it, then you don't know nothing about what I'm talking about right now. And all of that was just so I could tell you that I could dunk a basketball. And on another day, I will remind you of the time that I almost died dunking a basketball in the projects in 1998. The Cavs. I went to the game. Did I tell you that Gabe went to the game on Sunday?
You did.
I rode down on Sunday.
Tell me that.
I went down there with a buddy of mine, and I never know how to handle this because he works at a different network and, like that sort of stuff. But my friend is known for being a bit of an antagonist, a big LeBron fan and a bit of an antagonist. And so we're in the crowd. He's in there before the game. He's like, yo, let's take a lap. I'm like, okay, just see the arena. He's like, no, I want to take another lap. I say, okay, but I didn't realize that the purpose of him taking these laps was to troll. Like he wanted to troll. And some of you guys know this. I ain't exactly the most popular person in the world in Boston. They've had some disagreements with me at times in Boston. So I'm walking around with the hood up. Like, I don't know who's coming around the corner. I really don't know what the thing is. And what I do know about Boston is they got a whole different ethos about fighting up there, which is to say they do that. They bout that fighting life. Not every city is just about that fighting life. Boston bout that fighting life. And I'm not really about that fighting life at this point. If I may be frank, I make too much money for that. So I'm walking around the arena. We're going around. They was charged up, man. Like they were ready for it. A lot of Gordon Hayward jerseys. I feel like you should have a matching cast if you have a Gordon Hayward jersey. They still rocking that Larry Bird jersey. Pretty tough in there. Kyrie gets a lot. That's the thing. A whole lot of jerseys for people who aren't playing. That is what I noticed. The guys who are actually playing, people that bought their jerseys at the beginning of the year. They hadn't had time to go get the Jason Tatum jersey after that. So they're still out here wearing that Gordon Hayward jersey. That might as well be Gordon Hayward's jersey because your Gordon Hayward jersey has gotten as much game action as Gordon Hayward's Gordon Hayward jersey has gotten.
So what's the TJ McConnell equivalent of the Boston Celtics fan?
Well, that's the thing. All their players are good. I feel like Marcus Smart would be that, though.
Yeah, or I've seen people kind of waving around the scary Terry Rozier.
Dude, they love Terry Rozier. I can't imagine how they feel about Terry Rozier if he didn't play for them. But they love Terry Rozier at this point. They are in it for that team. Like, they really dig it. But I had pretty good seats, and as I was watching it, I don't think the Cavs have as much to be worried about as other people do. I thought their biggest problem was missing shots. Like, in the first half, they had open looks. They just weren't making them. Like, as we could talk about LeBron being passive and everything else, he wasn't necessarily looking to score for himself in that way. But no. I thought they had open looks. I thought they had chances to win that game if they had played halfway decently in terms of the shots. So it didn't feel like it did with the Rockets, where the Rockets played well, the Warriors played poorly, and it was a tie game. I don't think that's what that was. So when the next game comes around, it's going to be interesting to see what the adjustments are that the Cavs make, assuming there are adjustments to be made, and what Stevens does on this. But Boston got a lot of good players. Like, don't let anybody talk that they're doing less. I think we talked about this before, that they're doing more with less thing. No. They got a lot. Like I say, there's a handful of low spades, but those spades are creeping up to that Jack Queen level of low spade as opposed to like 5s and 6s that you just hope that they put a club down on. That's what Brad Stevens is all about. Like, guess who's out of clubs? Drop that spade, pull that book. This ain't really that, this ain't really that. That's not where we're going here. But listen to LeBron. And I want to just talk about this because, a big thing has been made out of it. And I think there's some context that people should have. But this is LeBron being asked what went wrong at a point.
The start of the fourth, I think they cut it to 14. Do you have any idea what? I think they scored 7 quick ones. What happened there?
What happened? We ran them the first possession. We ran them down all the way to 2 on the shot clock. Marcus Morris missed a jump shot, followed it up. They got a dunk. We came back down. We ran a set for Jordan Clarkson, and he came off and missed it. They rebounded it, and we came back on the defensive end, and we got a stop. They took it out on the sideline. Jason Tatum took the ball out, threw it to Marcus Smart in the short corner. He made a 3. We come back down, missed another shot, and then Tatum came down and went 94 feet, did a Euro step, and made a right-hand layup timeout. There you go.
Now, it's interesting because we're all amazed by this, right? Like the level of detail that he demonstrated in this. And then, of course, the haters had to pop up. He ain't the only one who was able to do that. The other people, all the great players can do that. That don't make it no less impressive. right? It is impressive. Like, let's be clear. It is impressive that he is able to rattle off all of those things. He is not the only person who can do that. Just like LeBron is not the only person who can do a 360 dunk. But a 360 dunk is still really, really impressive, right? Like, there's no need to be a hater on it in that way. That being said, it dawned on me. A lot of us have the same capability as LeBron. And you know when it shows itself? So, how'd your round of golf go? The next thing you know, you're walking them through every stroke. The difference is when you walk people through every stroke of your golf round, it's not nearly as entertaining as when LeBron walks you through everything that happened in the fourth quarter of a game. But we are like, people are able to do that. But still, even like immediately after losing and everything, just for him to be able to sit there and just be like, yeah, so this happened, the Euro step that. What? I mean, I was watching the same game. Like, it would be different if I wasn't there. I couldn't tell you, like not all of it. I could be looking at the play-by-play sheet that they put out with stats on it, and I still can't tell you, like, all of it. But, Gabe, what do you think about Jordan Crawford?
Man, Jordan Clarkson was feeling himself when he got traded to the Cavs from the Lakers. Oh, man, I'm a good team now.
Okay.
And when LeBron gives the ball to Jordan Clarkson or Jordan Crawford, it's almost like he's said it's a wrap on the series at that point. It's like, all right, go do your thing. You go score. We're not going to win this thing.
Well, no. You are a Laker fan. Help me out. Was I just sleepy watching those West Coast games? Because I didn't think Jordan Clarkson was sorry. I now think Jordan Clarkson is sorry from watching him play with the Cavs. Like, was he sorry with the Lakers?
What it was, in my opinion, as a fan, was he was the perfect guy to come off the bench when we had no bodies. And it's like, all right, he's going to get you a couple of buckets. But if you have him play within the flow of an offense, everybody just kind of gets annoyed because he keeps trying to run the show from the kind of two-guard spot as opposed to being a distributor.
Pablo made a great point. He was like, what kind of subtweeting is it when you demonstrate your photographic memory on all these plays, but then you can't remember Jordan Clarkson's name?
Completely. I saw that. Every time when he's like let something slip like that, it's been on purpose.
He's like, he got him. And, it's disappointed Pablo because, Pablo got a running list in his head of all the Filipinos that do anything noteworthy in sports. Jordan Clarkson is on the list. Did you know that?
Well, I know he's like a member of the Filipino national team.
He's like one quarter Filipino. He's like one quarter Filipino. Now, the Filipino national team tried to just get JaVale McGee. And that didn't happen. But yeah, they just tried to get JaVale McGee on the team because, I think he was played in the Filipino league and he's 7 feet tall. So, they tried to bring him in. But no, I still think the Cavs are going to win this. I think the Cavs are going to win game 2. And if the Cavs don't win game 2, game 3 becomes the latest installment of the biggest game of LeBron's career. At some point, by the way, we're going to stack those up. All the games that LeBron's had that were the biggest game of LeBron's career, because I can name like 5 of them. Talk about those biggest games of LeBron's career. For you, the biggest thing in your career is probably the next person that you are going to hire. Finding great talent is difficult. Not everybody's lucky enough to have somebody like Gabe working with them. What do you need to do? Talk to ZipRecruiter. They knew there was a smarter way, so they built a platform that finds the right job candidates for you. ZipRecruiter learns what you're looking for and identifies people with the right experience, and they invite them to apply to your job. Invitations have revolutionized how you find your next hire. 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. And there's more. They even spotlight the strongest applications you receive, so you never miss a great match. The right candidates are out there, and ZipRecruiter is how you find them. Businesses of all sizes trust ZipRecruiter for their hiring needs, and my listeners right now can try ZipRecruiter for free. $3.99. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/Bomani. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Bomani. ZipRecruiter. Smarter way to hire.
We know you can't be on top of all the news and information of the day. No need for the social media feeds. We got you. Now, if you haven't heard.
All right, Bo, story number 1. of the week comes from the music industry.
Hey, what's going on? My name is Mark Hogan, and I'm a senior staff writer for Pitchfork. On Sunday, Mother's Day, Andre 3000 released his first new solo music in basically forever. It was a momentous occasion for Outkast fans, but he made it feel as intimate as a family affair. One of the two new tracks, titled Look Ma, No Hands, is a 17-minute jazzy instrumental with Andre on bass clarinet, and it's great. Now, I chose to write about the other track because it's more of a composed song, with vocals at least, if not rapping, but it's no less of a journey. This one is titled Me and My to Bury Your Parents. It's a stripped-down ballad with Andre singing in heartbreaking specificity about his mother and father, both of whom he's lost in recent years. His heartfelt vocals are backed by elegant piano, and he even gets to play some more of that bass clarinet. By the end of the song, the words seem to slip away, so it's almost like these characters that Andre has created so vividly for us are fading away and then gone. The overall effect is some of the vintage soulfulness of Stevie Wonder, but also that surreal quality you get from Frank Ocean, one of Andre's many collaborators over the past years. Outkast haven't released an album since 2006's Idlewild, but I'd argue that Andre has shown more of a command over rap on his various guest verses than he ever could have these days on a proper album. Now, with these two new songs, he's showing that he can be one of the most ingenious artists in hip-hop without even rapping at all. Just as importantly, in a time when we know better than to look to our celebrities for guidance, he does it by sounding not like an icon, but by sounding human.
So, interesting on this. Saturday night, I'm at my crib. I get a text message. It is from Andre 3000's girlfriend, I'm friends with. And she says, be on Twitter at about midnight. And I was tired. Like I was beat on Saturday night. I'm like, hey, I don't know if I can make it to midnight tonight. But I hung and then it didn't happen. And then I woke up and I saw what it was. It was new music from Andre, right? Which is like, ooh, but I knew better than to think he was actually going to be out here rapping, because the last thing Andre's going to do is what we want him to, right? And so I went and I checked out the tracks, and I thought that the tracks were good. And I feel like a lot of times with Andre, because I'm not the biggest Love Below fan. Like, I know that Love Below is the thing. They got a lot of people, like, really charged up on it. But nah, the Love Below, I want to hear Andre rap. He's better at rapping. And when he raps on the Love Below, it's incredible. His drum programming is incredible as a producer and all that. But that's not the Andre that I really rock with. I felt differently about this sort of stuff, though. Like, it was a feeling. And if you read the, was it GQ that did the Andre story? They did a story, and he's talking about losing both of his parents. And, like, he doesn't live in Atlanta anymore because his parents aren't there. And these songs have been done for a while. He just felt that, like, now was the time to release them. And where I find that interesting is not the right word, but every year on Mother's Day and, like, Father's Day, I make it a point to send out a tweet that says it's something for all the people who are having a hard time on Mother's Day and all the people who are having a hard time on Father's Day. Because as much as it's cool to be able to pay homage to your parents in that way, some people don't have parents to pay homage to, and some people don't have parents worth paying homage to. And so it's a hard day for people. And so what I found interesting about this is that for Andre, this seemed to be a time, all the things that he's gone through with losing his parents, this was his opportunity to release that and to share it. And I think an underrated part of that sharing is that there's a big audience of people who need that sort of thing. And I think about Christmas songs. How many Christmas songs are sad? And a lot of Christmas songs are sad because a lot of holidays are sad for people because it reminds them of people they lost or don't have or anything else. Well, Mother's Day is a day that's very similar. And it's almost like for Andre, this is like Blue Christmas for Mother's Day.
Story number 2 of the day comes from the transit industry.
Hi, this is Jack Stewart. I write about transportation at Wired, and recently I wrote about Uber's flying car plan. Yeah, the people who are responsible for the ride-hailing service that you use when you don't want to drive by summoning a car on your phone are desperate to get into the flying car game. They see it as the next frontier. They want to operate an air taxi service for these sort of vehicles that look like scaled-up drones that would carry 4 passengers, and they want that running in Los Angeles and Dallas-Fort Worth by the end of 2023. But Uber had what it calls its Elevate Summit in Los Angeles last week, and it invited the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, to come and chat on stage. And it became clear just how many regulations are going to have to change, be modified, or put into place to allow a service like this. The skies above us are very heavily regulated. That's why the safety record of flying in this country is so good, and the FAA is not about to back down. Uber will not be able to steamroll its way through the way it has with its car business. Often it just ignores local rules and regulations. That's not going to work for flying taxis. That's not to say they won't happen, but it's a tough path ahead.
Who the hell gonna drive these flying taxis is my question. I had an Uber driver once who couldn't read. Who the hell's going to be driving these flying taxis? And if you think an Uber driver that can't read isn't a big deal, watching that joker blow by every exit as he's staring at the screen and can't tell where to turn.
Well, did it not sound like these are going to be driverless, right? Because if it's a drone, then it's just kind of floating around with this
I guess that's right. Uber's figured this out. Like, what's cheaper than these people we get to drive? Having nobody drive the car. I am sorry. I understand that planes generally are operating on the autopilot, but they got a man there with some training in case we got to handle this thing for real. You think I'm getting into an autopilot flying car? What the hell am I supposed to do if something goes wrong? Yo, man, the future. I'm not here for the future, man. Dude, a flying car. I don't need that. And I don't need it from Uber. I think if anybody's demonstrated that I can't really trust them on this, I don't. No. I don't need it from Uber. Like, I imagine that Uber will take, like, all the stuff that they do with the car. They'll be like the pizza buffet. You know, the pizza buffet, you'll be like, wow, how cheap must this pizza be if I could get all I can eat for $3.99? They're going to be using the cheapest gas in them cars. It's a flying car. Why invest anything in tires or any of that stuff? Like, I'm afraid of Uber. You see the thing with Uber once they're talking about they want to own every car that's on the road? And I'm looking around like, don't you guys realize what a horrible idea it is for one person to own all the ground transportation? They will become your overlords. I've seen the future. Yikes.
Story number 3 of the day comes from the tech industry.
Hi, I'm Christina Bonington. I'm a contributor to Slate, and I recently wrote a piece titled How Augmented Reality is Going to Change Google Maps. Augmented reality is a popular and growing area in consumer tech, as we've seen with the iPhone X and apps like Snapchat. But Google also gave us an interesting glimpse at how it will be used in the future in the Google Maps app. In a demo at its developer conference, Google showed a new turn-by-turn walking navigation mode that split the screen with a traditional map view on bottom and augmented reality feed from your phone's camera up top. It's kind of a genius idea. This mode can pinpoint destinations in your field of view and update its turn-by-turn directions depending on where you're facing. Super handy if you count yourself among the directionally challenged. But it also made me wonder, could something like this be expanded more widely across our smartphones? Distracted walking is an annoying and also a dangerous problem. A split screen with a pass-through video or augmented reality mode on screen, like this Google Maps experience, could help walkers see where they're going while they still text, email, or get navigation instructions. It could make sidewalks and roadways safer than they are right now, unless it just made the habit even worse. Google hasn't yet announced a date for this augmented reality update, but it stands to be one of the most useful AR implementations to date.
So, like, I don't really know how often you have used, like, the Google Maps app while you were walking. But I feel like they're skipping some steps to go to this augmented reality situation. Like, how about you tighten up this little basic stuff that you're supposed to be doing in the first place? Then we can get out here and do the rest of this. Like, maybe they need to get all the way big to correct the little stuff. But, like, I wind up on the walking apps. Am I the only person that winds up doing that pirouette when they get up out the subway, trying to figure out which direction they're supposed to go right now? Because the Maps app is not really giving you the picture that you need. Like, they're like, well, we got this problem is that people keep looking down at their phones and they're walking into stuff. You know why they keep looking down at their phones? Because what's on the phone ain't telling them what way they're supposed to go.
Instead of being in the middle of the street, it says they're on top of a building or something like that. It's not, the GPS like coordinates are not that sharp.
They are skipping steps. Like, that's like, let's get to some of these other things first. Then we could talk about this, right? Man. But I have to say that augmented reality does like sound kind of cool. That seems like the future that doesn't frighten me nearly as much as the rest of the future frightens me.
All right, for the last segment of today, I thought it might be kind of fun to do some mean tweets here because a lot of your reactions on Twitter are people flexing, people thinking that they can say stuff and that you're not going to pull the receipts on them, which is somewhat related to what we do with Unblock Me Bo. But I thought it might be fun to cue some up for you and just roast them.
All right. This is a dude who calls himself Ryan O'Neal. This appears to be a fake account, though. Ryan 1 ONE 1548 and a bunch of dots. Bomani is a sensitive little clown who makes a living off race baiting. Too insecure to admit he was wrong again. You know what the wild thing about that is for me, man? And I think you picked this up about me. I will tell you if I am wrong.
Sure, yeah.
People just think I'm wrong because they don't agree with it necessarily. I would also, though, make the point, once again, you don't get to call me insecure when you are tweeting while you are hiding your face. Like, that seems to be the ultimate insecurity in the world to me, because you know damn well you put that face up here, I'm going to say something about it.
Yeah, I like what the Levitard show does when anyone tries to come at Dan.
Zoom in.
And they zoom in on the guy's face and post it on Twitter.
Yeah, he does that every time, man. The other thing about making a living off race baiting, like, you think that's how this works? You think there's money involved in this? There's money in race baiting saying the opposite of what I say, not what I actually do.
I feel like the people that are uncomfortable talking about race just kind of resort to that defense.
Well, they also find it no matter where it is. They just go look for it. I'm like, oh, man, I'm actually over here living a good life. Should we go to the next one?
You shall.
Some dude named Hank Mardukas. I say this in all seriousness. What is the appeal of Bomani Jones? His 4 million tweets and ultra basic commentary is boring.
Wow.
Yeah, boring. I don't know.
It's a strong take there.
And I would just say to that gentleman, as a general rule, if you feel like the commentary is basic, but the person is famous or well known, you should probably ask your girl. There's a good chance that she understands what the appeal is. Because if somebody don't like hearing me, they must like looking. Go ask her. It happens all the time. I just don't see what the big deal is. Do you see it, honey? Baby, I asked you a question. Oh, I'm sorry. I was watching Poppy.
Oh, boy.
It happens. Should we go to Drew?
All set.
Drew says, at Tony Reality, I just had to stop and replay Bomani Jones' weird string being curved, wavy fingers today. Have you noticed this man's warped finger before today's episode? Hashtag Bo knows. And all you gentlemen who care so much about what my fingers look like on television, how? Because this is another one that takes me to the other. This is going to take me back to where I was on number 2. And I promise I'm not trying to antagonize you guys, but dudes send a lot of tweets about my long fingers and how my long fingers make them uncomfortable. Women just look at them and don't say a word. Some things don't need to be said.
It's kind of the reverse of what, people say about Trump. He has small hands.
Yes.
Right? They're complaining because your hands are too big now.
Yeah. Like I say, some things just need to be left unsaid. That being said, I do wish I could play the piano because I feel like I need to put these things to better use.
You could have skill on there.
Perhaps a more artistic use is a better way to put it.
All right, that'll do it for Mean Tweets today. Until the next time, you loyal followers.
Why are they so mad at me? Like, that's the whole thing about it. Like, I got into it on Sunday talking about the Lost Boys, the rappers, the Lost Boys. People like, why do y'all want me to agree with y'all so bad? Like, it'd be different if you just tuned in to hate me, but no, y'all want me to agree with y'all so bad while at once enjoying the fact that I don't care what you think.
People love to interact with you, man. Whether they love you or they hate you, they love to interact with you.
That is true, and I have to say, it would be more fun if I worked at a network whose audience wasn't so many stankin' dudes. Like, it's just, my base is overwhelmingly a bunch of stankin' dudes. I wish I could parlay this into something just a little bit better. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this thing 2 times a week. My man Gabe Bassain handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you. Thanks to Mark Hogan of Pitchfork for talking about Andre 3000's Mother's Day releases. Check him out at pitchfork.com. Thanks to Jack Stewart at Wired.com talking about Uber and those crazy flying cars. And thank you to Christina Bonington, tech writer at Slate.com talking about augmented reality and Google Maps. And also thanks to our good friends at ZipRecruiter. Remember, check us out at the iTunes store. Rate and review us. We like 5 stars. I would say we take 4, but no, not really. We like 5 stars. Also, today is a day some news has been announced. High Noon, starring me and Pablo Torre, debuts June the 4th on ESPN. Also, check out GQ.com. There's a story about me in GQ with photographs.
Really good photographs, I might add.
Classy photographs. Yeah. Somebody actually did a photo shoot for me with GQ. One funny thing about that before you see it, they asked me to bring a bunch of T-shirts because, I wore that T-shirt that one time on television. And so they're like, we'd like to shoot you in a bunch of T-shirts. I was like, you think I'm about to burn my GQ photo shoot on a bunch of T-shirts? Psh, man, I went and got a stylist. I got some new threads. I went and picked out some stuff. I went and bought a new pair of J's. Like, I did some T-shirts.
Hashtag new profile pic.
That's right. And by the way, the T-shirt that I picked out for the shoot so they would have a T-shirt did not make it into. See, sometimes you know better than the people in charge. Anyway, talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.
Thanks for checking out The Right Time with Bomani Jones podcast.
You can listen or subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
The Right Time
with Bomani Jones.